Welcome, welcome, each and every one of you. You are here and in the right place because this is our Global Chamber Author Series. And boy, do we have a phenomenal panel of women today. I know it's still not International Women's Month, but today just happened to be a trifecta of women we're going to discuss the entire writing process from as an author, as an illustrator, and as an editor. Now we have a nice gamut of people that's joining in and that's on the line, some that are already authors, some that are aspiring to publish in latter part of the year, or that may even be illustrators. So we want to welcome each and every one of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. And then what we like to do is engage. So utilize the chat, put your contact information, let us know how we can find you, preferably LinkedIn. If you'd like to share a website, you can do that. But I've discovered that when you share your LinkedIn, we can ask you for your website. So you get more bang for your buck when you do it on the LinkedIn. All right. Now, I will share the story with you while I'm pulling up the slides because I'm sure many of you know that speaking is one of the greatest fears that people have in the world. Um, I think it's like second, it ranks second. And with that said, even though I'm a public speaker, it does not mean it goes without nerves, and especially when technology seems to be a little bit of a challenge. So know that on the surface, you might see this duck, but beneath, I am paddling like crazy. Have any of you been there?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Right. So we're going to go ahead and share the screen. Okay. We're going to see these slides. I mean, I worked hard on them. So we're going to look at them. So I want to welcome you to our Global Chamber Author Series. This is just one of the components of Global Chamber that focuses on authors. And what we do is that we engage, we come together because we are a vibrant community of writers, illustrators, and editors where we connect our diverse experiences and inspire through workshops, books, collaborative projects, and leadership initiatives. We meet the third Wednesday of the month, generally at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But there's two times this year we'll be meeting at 8 p.m. so that those are that are across the pond, like Michael Quigley and many others that are on, that they can be truly live without having to compromise their sleep. And Global Chamber was started by one of our members over 4 years ago. And since then, she has passed that torch on to me. And we have been engaging for the last 2 years together on the Global Chamber Author Series. This is who I am. I would say I'm a connector. I don't minimize who I am, but the thing I like to do is to connect people the most. Yes, I am an author, a best-selling author, a writer's coach, and I head up the author series. But more importantly, I like to do just what I'm doing today, bring people together so that we can make a greater impact. Now, if you haven't heard of Global Chamber, shame on you. But if you haven't, you're in the right place to hear about who we are and what we do. Global Chamber, this is the 11th year in existence. It was started by our founder, Doug Brunke, who came on just a moment ago, and he'll greet you towards the end. And I'm sure he'll have some comments throughout. And he had the vision to, hey, how can we make doing business globally as easy as doing business across the street? And so Global Chamber was born. That's the simplest form of that. We do have over 700 metros, no longer 525, around the world. We're in 5 continents, 195 countries. And when I say it has changed my life and it has shaken my world, it has. You'll want to know more about Global Chamber and become a part of it if you're not. So we're extending that invitation to you early on in our discussion. Where are we located? We're located in Phoenix, Arizona. We have some folks on from Arizona today, and we're at the Thunderbird School of Global Management headquarters. Yes, like what better place for an entity such as Global Chamber to be than the Global School of um, Management, Thunderbird? So, with our affiliation with them, we also have an extension of our reach. Just know that. And Global Chamber Author Series, what we decided a few years ago is that we'd feature an author one month and then a panel the next month. So here today, you're in great company for our panelists. We do like to start with the end in mind. So today, our end is that you engage, learn more, and then hopefully some collaborations will come out of this. And we talked about that just moments ago, right before we started the recording, that these ladies here, myself, we're going to look at doing something collectively together. Now, we talked about AI and what we name our AI. So if you're looking at your picture and you're going, that looks like it changed me a little bit. Well, my AI, my chat GPT, I call her Chatty, and I am an AI consultant. So I definitely believe in taking what we have and seeing how we can zhuzh it up and incorporate AI. Now, the only thing, Pauline, it didn't give you the purple in your hair. I was disappointed in that. But you have it there. Our special guest today is Dr. Pauline Prophet, Donna Eastman, and Jan Levin. We have the author, the illustrator, and the editor. And I am Dr. Dana Austin, your moderator. So, as you see, we have Dr. Pauline Crawford here. I'm going to introduce her, but I want her to introduce this part of her aspect of who she is as an entrepreneurologist. So I'd like for you to tell us about you in that space, and then the power of the authentic harmony, that book right there. And I know there's quite a bit with the imaging in it. And Donna, being an illustrator, is going to be paying attention to that piece too, as well as the rest of us. Welcome, Dr. Pauline.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dana Austin. Thank you, all of you, for being here. As you can see on the first slide, that was my book, and I think one of the key things I want to share is that when you're in a place where you think you can't write a book, which was most of my life, and I'm dyslexic, and I thought I hated spelling. I failed every single spelling test at school. And I remember going up to the senior school and thinking, oh, great, I won't have to do spelling tests. Not realizing, of course, spelling is everything in your whole life. So it wasn't just spelling, it was actually this notion of books. I very rarely read books. I do everything by watching things. But I was persuaded that my story was worth writing. So I started looking at this. So if we go to the next slide, I just made some notes for myself. Present yourself consistently. When I wrote in fact, I wrote a first book before this, which didn't really make any headway. I don't think I had the right support. My publisher wasn't particularly helpful. So I think that's one of the first things. But I really learned about being natural. When I eventually wrote this book, it was with a new publisher who was very hands on. And actually is a very, very good friend of mine now, but she is a publisher. But it was that connection of really feeling I could do it. I could be myself. And one of the most telling things I think about being natural is being okay about being dyslexic, be okay about being whatever age you are. It's okay about being whoever you are and writing in your book. But there was something somebody said to me when I look at the second point, which is sharing your story. A lady who had written quite a few books, she said to me, of course, your family won't probably like that you're writing. I said, what do you mean? She said, because sometimes your close family, and I do mention my family in my book because it is, although it's about my study of human nature, it does reference my life and even names my children. And I didn't realize that. And I think my children are proud of me, but they don't really want to read it. And it was a very interesting point, I thought, that sometimes if you reveal yourself in your books, your closest family may not understand it, but still do it because it's part of your passion. So I think writing these books was about sharing my story. And although it was my sharing my passion about The Power of Authentic Harmony, that's the name of my book, is my passion that people live in harmonious and ways forward to create a joint custody world. So everything I write in my book is what I am and I be in my life the whole time. Now, not all our books will be like that. I'm sure, if we write a novel or a murder mystery, that's different. But if we're writing something which relates to our own passion, I felt it was about my values. So knowing my values, and in a way, this is where entrepreneurology comes in. Entrepreneurology is the art of understanding what you know, your experiences, and your imagination. So what we say is it's knowledge, experience, and imagination. And the more I've got into this, and I award PhDs in this entrepreneurology essence, I realized that writing my book was part of that. Because in there, I started looking into my imagination. What if the world could be a happy, healthy, harmonious place? What if men and women actually understood each other, even when we never will understand each other? That's another long story. But I think the fourth point, which is asking for feedback, is really important when you're writing. Now, interesting enough, when I published my first book, which was a lesser version of this, I actually have a 62,000 word book, which I haven't published yet. This book is around 26,000, I think. So I need some help on this because when I finished the 62,000 book, I asked for feedback. And the feedback I got was it was too long. It was too complicated. It was too this, too that. And so I split the book in half. And the half which is in this book now, the other half is still not published. And in fact, the other part is a deeper part of what makes men and women who they are. So I need to go back and redress that. But it was interesting at the time listening to feedback because it really hurt, I have to be honest with you. So when people give you feedback, honest feedback, uh, it's about listening to it and be interested in the other, all of your view. You listen to the feedback. Do you always take it all on board? I'm still slightly miffed that I haven't published that 40,000, whatever it is. And so I think my last point, which is take responsibility, is as I've now been an author since 2018, I've learned a lot about taking responsibility for what I write and even the fact that my face is on the cover. So that is part of owning your book. Now, you don't always have to put your face on your cover, but once you do, then you start owning it. And so my last point is gathering testimonials. And this was a particularly exciting one because this guy, Dennis Patako, if you know him or not, he runs a huge network of very wise men and women across the world who talk about all the right things about the harmony in the world ahead. And so I was very proud that he gave me this testimonial. And then the other one, the cover, being a legacy leader. And so I'm very proud of these. And I think that's the other thing about writing a book, is being proud of it without being in your ego. So I'm going to leave it at that. So it's about writing your truth, understanding your experience and your imagination. And if you want to know more about entrepreneurology, we can go into that later, but it is about
Yeah.
using your imagination. I think having written these books, that's what I realized. My dyslexia was stopping me. My not being able to spell as a kid was stopping me. And now I've got a friend called Charlie AI. So I know that I can get past all the obstacles that I used to have. So I'll hand it back to you, Dana, and hopefully that's giving you some idea about a very simple journey as an author. And basically,
Oh man,
the bottom line is you can do it.
absolutely. I just love it. I just love how you approach things, and that even when dyslexia would tell you you might not be able to, that you redirected that and utilized your imagination and came out with a powerful book. We'll talk about the cover shortly, aside from your beautiful picture on it. And but the three things that I heard were about knowledge, experience, and imagination, incorporating that in the entrepreneurology. I know we're going to have comments and questions. We got people on that are eager, and since we are here to engage, um, if you've got questions for Dr. Pauline, give us just a few minutes. We're going to come back to her. So hold tight. And I do have in these slides, I'm going to just show you this link because this is an interview that was done with Blaine Bartlett and Dr. Pauline Crawford. It's a great one to listen to. So we'll post it on LinkedIn when we do like a follow up and appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give her a round of applause. And let's address any questions that they may have for you at this moment. What questions do you have for Dr. Pauline other than when can you get your book and how can you contact her, which will be in the chat? Marisa, welcome. Marisa's in San Antonio. She's a member of Global Chamber. Unmute yourself. And we were at a women's conference a few months ago that Stephanie Austin hosted in
Just last
Frisco.
month. Yes.
Come on, Marisa, what do you have?
Thank you. It's so great to be here, Dana. And thank you so much, Dr. Crawford. I noticed the word entrepreneurology. Please correct me. I'm an English as a second language person. How is it different? Is it entrepreneurship, entrepreneurology? And can you help me understand the difference between the two?
Okay, that's a really brilliant question. Thank you for asking me. In the sea of entrepreneurs that there are in the world, I believe there are business women and men, there are entrepreneurial women and men, and then there are entrepreneurologists. So an entrepreneurologist is, if you like, the greatest imaginative thinker. It's closer to Steve Jobs, to Richard Branson, to Sarah Blakely. So I see entrepreneurology is the ology is the art and science of being an entrepreneur, and that we have different levels to go through. So somebody like Elon Musk, he's always in his imagination. So it's a set of principles and an idea that actually came from my father-in-law, who's passed now, but he started this in 1972. And this is an important reference because he saw the world as needing people with imagination as opposed to people going into universities and studying for years and years and years and coming out with tones of knowledge that didn't go anywhere. And so entrepreneurology is about that knowledge, experience, and imagination. In a simple term, knowledge is what you know, experience is what you do with what you know, and imagination is what you do with what you don't know yet, but it's there. And it's actually a practice that I run with the International University of Entrepreneurology, which is not a campus university, but it's a mindset set of approaches. And we have a foundation program, which I'd like to offer to you all. In April, we're putting this out on a scholarship, so it won't cost you anything, but this will give you the basic. And then we do have a PhD, which is a professional higher doctorate in your life. So it's about your life credential, not what you study in the classroom. I hope that makes sense because I'm very
It
excited about it.
Thank you. Yes, it helped tremendously. If anything can be shared in the chat about it, I would love to read more. And thank you for answering the
Thank
question.
you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yes, definitely, Marisa. And look into the foundation and the scholarship that she's offering for the PhD, providing higher doctorate life experience. And Jan, I saw your hand up, so why don't we entertain your question? Anybody else has any questions? We're checking the chat, or were you giving her a round of applause? I'm not sure.
It was a round of applause, but I've never heard this word, entrepreneurology. I've never heard this before. And it is just fascinating to me. And I am looking forward to exploring this further. So thank you
Absolutely.
very
Thank you, Jan. Any
Thank
other
you.
comments before we introduce our next panelist? All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Pauline Crawford. We've got more coming, so you guys stay tuned. Well, our next panelist, by the way, Dr. Pauline Crawford has been a member of Global Chamber. Donna Eastman is also a member of Global Chamber. So there's something about there's some benefits to being a part of this tribe other than all of the business connections. but you also get kind of first dibs on things such as this, our Global Chamber Author Series. So Donna Eastman is in Phoenix, she's in Flagstaff, Arizona, and she is an incredible illustrator. And when we were talking a few months ago about her being a part of this panel, I recall her saying, well, I don't know that I've done enough. I'm just thinking being an artist for over 20 years is enough. I'm thinking being, using both your right brain and your left brain because you're chief financial officer in one space and you're utilizing your creative talent in another to put out some incredible illustrations and these books that we have here. So Donna, that's my introduction. It's on a narrow level because I'm not sure if you want us to talk about the organization you're part of, and if so, you're welcome to do that. If not, you're meeting the illustrator herself, Donna Eastman.
Yes,
Welcome.
yes. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Really good to know all of you. I can't wait to click on all of your LinkedIn and all of the websites that you're sharing with us and to get to know you. So I've been painting watercolor paintings for about 25 years. So I've always had that creative piece of me, which started out probably more like therapy. What I need to do something to bring me some happiness. With a lot of things that happen in our life, we're looking for things that we can do that can stretch our imagination, maybe bring us in new directions. And I happened to be living in a beautiful place at the time, Yosemite National Park area. I was in Oakhurst and had started doing some chamber work there. And I was in Chamber of Commerce business, obviously for over 20 years, and loved it. And obviously, joining the Global Chamber was like a natural. I'm like, oh my gosh, talk about expanding, your horizons. It's really wonderful. I met an artist called Joan Bromley at the time, and she basically, when I started taking classes, took me on as kind of a protege. She saw my organizational skills, of which she needed. She had talent, was a fabulous teacher. So she took me on for about 4 years, and we worked together. She taught me so much about painting, but she also taught me so much about individuals and people and brought me together with groups of people that were just so dynamic. And the group of women that I painted with, there were probably about 8 of us. We just traveled and painted and went to all kinds of places together. And we donated our work. So I've done, over 25 years of more fine art than I have for illustrating. But along the way, and while I was living in Oakhurst, I had a neighbor who had these Scotty dogs, and she saw the work that I was doing and just connected with me and said, "Hey, I have this story. I would love if you could illustrate it for me." And then a year later, illustrating another one. So, but I'm from New England, so Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont is where most of my family is. But I love Arizona. I love the weather, the diversity of the state. I've lived in California, all the way from San Diego up to, again, Yosemite National Park area. But I'm an avid hiker, outdoorsman, so I've, hiked and am out in the open lakes, oceans, you name it. And during all that time, I had collected an incredible amount of photographs and resource materials that you always need, when you're using your creative mind. So, let's see, I joined Moonshot about 3 years ago. We serve entrepreneurs in Flagstaff area. We have a 38,000 square foot accelerator and incubator, of which we just won a huge award with NBIA as ESO of the year. So we have really, we're a 25-year-old organization, nonprofit. So to listen to all the entrepreneurs, we work with about 120 entrepreneurs every year, and the diversity of their ideas and the brilliance, I think, of their ideas is just amazing. So learning to work with others and bringing them and launching their careers is something that I was helped with. I feel like it's my turn in life to help others and share what I have. And so I'm here today, to do that.
Thank you, Donna. I'm going to definitely ask you about these three books that you were the illustrator for that are on the screen, and the work that you've done, the work that you continue to do across the span of your, uh, training as an artist in fine arts for 25 years, being an intricate part of another global chamber, I think you were the president of that chamber as well. And then also getting to meet our CEO and founder, Doug Brunke, last week
Yes.
on his birthday at the headquarters for Global Chamber. So, bringing all of that wealth of experience, how did you take your training, your inspiration from the ocean and the mountains and Yosemite and say, hmm, I'm going to look for someone who's looking for me? Because I'm a believer that what you're seeking for is actually looking for you too. How did you come up with the authors and collaborate
Uh,
to get these books done?
So the first author actually, and those books aren't the ones that I've illustrated. I actually have illustrated. I should have sent you photographs of them, Dana. I apologize.
Okay.
The first book that I illustrated, it must be Mary Margaret, and then
Mhm.
the one that I illustrated for the author a year later was The Adventures of Mary Margaret, and these were true stories. This was an author near Bass Lake, Oakhurst, California. She raised Scotties and said, "I have these wonderful stories. You know how puppies can, obviously give you story ideas." So she had me illustrate those. She uh, promoted the book incredibly, and she was in parades at Bass Lake, and the puppies were all there, and she had stories to tell. And the next thing you know, Scottish Magazine was contacting her and did a whole write up on it. And she sent me a copy of it and said, "Oh my gosh, look what's going on." And she'd send me newspaper articles about everything those Scotties were doing. It was just really, really incredible. And so it must be Mary Margaret and the Adventures of Mary Margaret. And then, and she was a neighbor, so she knew me and just loved my work. And then the other author that I met is from Kansas, Marcia Granberry, and she happened to come to an art show. I was in a small art show in Kansas, in Norton, Kansas. We lived there for 5 years, and she saw the two books that I had illustrated, and she said, "Well, I'd like to. I have a lot of stories going on, and I think Marcia might be on the call today as an author, and I hope she is." And so she said, "Let's connect because I'd love to find an illustrator." So we did. I called her right away. I just made sure to follow up because I had so much fun with the first two books, even though they were like almost, 20 years earlier. And I said, "I'd love to do that again." So we connected, and it was so interesting because, when you meet an author, you really do want to know one another. So she actually visited my studio, saw the kind of work I do, and said, "You're it. I'd love to work with you." So we did connect, and then we've got this first book published, and she has other stories that we're working on. And so they did seek me out, and I felt like that was an energy that maybe I put out there, and I don't mind being discovered. I think that's probably my way of doing things.
Oh my word. They sought you out, but you had to be visible for
Yes,
them to find
yes.
you. So that's a message in itself for each of us online. People have to know you exist and what you do so that they can seek you out. And, referrals are always a bonus, right? We make soft connections here at Global Chamber seamlessly. I mean, it's one of the best, and I would say, easiest things that we do because that's part of the mission. So you got to be visible. So what questions do you have for Donna at this moment or comments? And yes, Mary Margaret, I have to look up that one because I want to search for you on this one. I go, "Ooh, I love
Yes.
these designs." What questions you have for Donna? Okay, Stephanie Austin, Global Chamber Executive Director for Dallas Fort Worth and a best-selling author and so much more. What questions you have?
Hello, Donna. It was so great to hear from you. You brought a smile to my face when you mentioned about your fur baby and parades and pictures. And I have a wonderful nephew, Maximilian. His mom happens to be Dana Austin, and it's just like I see stories generating. It's like those babies help you generate different stories, and just hearing you say that, it just caused me to smile because I don't have a fur baby now, but I never thought about that, and when I start seeing it is when Dana started doing it with my nephew, because Maximilian's my nephew, of course, right? Her fur baby. And I just thank you. And you mentioned about seeing you, and Dana, you mentioned about just showing up and being available. And that's true. You have to be there. And so I just want to thank you. You just encouraged me. You and Dr. Pauline encouraged me today and inspiring. And iron sharpens iron. And so I just thank you all so much for what you're giving, because you're giving these nuggets to us that's going to be very inspirational, encouraging, and we have to put them into practice. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I know that Stephanie, you and Donna share quite a bit in the financial space as well. So I know there's some synergy beyond the Globinar here today. Now, one more comment or question of Donna before we move on to our next panelist. And actually, Donna made the segue for introducing the next one so easy. So, any other comment or question
I
for
just
Donna?
want to say something. I love cartoons. I love the drawings on the books, and sometimes having a face on your own face on the book, which I've got. I love cartoons, and I've got a story about men and women, which is about bears and birds. So maybe you could help me illustrate that, Donna.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And I've got a book that I started on for Maximilian. And if I can pull his picture up, I'll show you as a proud mom. But it's going to be a series. Maximilian
Nice.
goes to the dentist. Maximilian goes to school,
Yeah.
So right here in this room, we have all that we need. And what you need next is a professional editor. What you need next is someone who is in tune with every aspect of editing, the various types of editing. What you need next is someone who's going to handle your craft well and gently. I'm going to have to let Stephanie take over the slides at this moment because one of my technical issues is actually happening and I'm going to hop on the phone. So I'm going to introduce Jan and I'll tell you that she has been our editor for Transformational Writers Academy and our conference for years. She's helped to get published many books. She's a friend. She's she does magazines, she does books, and so much more. So introducing to you Jan Levin, and Stephanie will take over.
Well, thank you so much. It is really a pleasure to be here, and I am just I'm so glad. I'm new to your global chamber, but already I can tell just from listening to Dr. Pauline and Donna that I'm in the right place because the knowledge just with these two women, what they have imparted to us is really valuable. I love what Dr. Pauline said, write your truth and use your imagination. And then Donna has taken that one step further and taken your imagination and put it into a tangible, visible um, uh, um, outcropping of what you have in your head. And so the two are working seamlessly together. And that's really a great thing. And where I come in is I come in and I disrupt your whole life. No, what I do is I help you fine tune everything you're doing. And let's go into the first slide. I ask why and when do you need an editor? That's one of the main questions people ask. Well, I don't really know that I need an editor. When do I need it? I'm a good writer. These are some of the questions that people have. And if you write, you need an editor because an extra set of eyes reviewing your work will always help. Um, a good editor will help you from concept, that thought in your brain, to your final writing. If you're already finished, that's no problem. You can submit a finished manuscript to your editor, and your editor can look at it and find all the maybe a different perspective you might not have thought about, or something that you have uh, you've you've overlooked something that might have been really important. I worked with one author who was she was very technical. Her information was absolutely amazing. She had all the statistics, she had all the reviews, she had all the head knowledge. And I said, you know, that's really great because you've shown that you are the authority in your field. And that's really good. That's needed. But what you need is a way to connect with people's hearts because just the facts and the figures are good, but it kind of reads like a dissertation. And if you want to reach people, you need to give them a reason to connect with your heart, and that's what a good editor will help do. So, what can an editor help with? Um, you might say, I have an idea, but I don't know where or how to start. I've written parts of my book, but I can't seem to get it all organized. And that's really a very common issue that people have. I worked with one author a while back, and she was just talking to me one day, and she said, "You know, I've got this great idea for a book." It was a personal event that she had gone through, and she said, I have written a lot of things. I've got all kinds of papers and all kinds of notes on my computer, and it's just kind of scattered all over the place, but it's not cohesive and it's not organized. So, what I helped her do was develop an organic method of organization and flow so that her book was in the right order and it told the story at the right pace, and it really ended up excellent. Um, you might also say, I'm stumped. I don't know how to end my book. We can help you finish it, where you draw all the pieces together and come up with a great conclusion at the end so that it's full of power and impact to your reader. You might say, I've written my book, it's just about perfect. I just need somebody to look it over. That's great. I can help you do that. It's always important to have another set of eyes look at it. And I don't mean Aunt Ev or your neighbor next door or somebody that is just going to read it and say, oh, yeah, that's a good story. You need somebody who's going to look at it with a technical point of view, who knows what to look for and to know and who knows how to make sure that everything is in a cohesive, organized manner. You might say, I'm ready to publish. What do I do next? Or how do I write a pitch letter? Most of my authors self publish. I have had uh, um, clients who have self published and then they understand that a major publisher is interested in picking up their book. And so they need to write a pitch letter to that publishing company. I can help you with that as well so that you can snag a great deal with a known publisher. And that's a lot of fun when that works out. So let's talk about the different kinds of editing. There are all different kinds, but the major ones are developmental editing, copy editing, manuscript evaluation, mechanical editing, and ghostwriting. Developmental editing is where you take an idea, there's just a concept in your brain, and um, and you are looking for help in figuring out how to turn it into a book. And I can help you do that. I have done it and it's worked really well. And it's a lot of fun. I love drawing people out and finding out what is the real goal of what they want to write about. What is the main message that you want to say? And who is your target audience? Who is it you are actually writing to so that you can be sure that you hit your target? Then there's copy editing. This is more line by line, focusing on grammar, punctuation, spelling, word tense, the mechanics of writing, and overall content. Now, most of my clients prefer a hybrid of both developmental and copy editing. The two kind of work hand in hand in a lot of aspects. Manuscript evaluation, we talked a little bit about that just a minute ago, reviews a completed book, um, and it focuses on the content, the dialogue, the tense, 20 other specific criteria that I go through to make sure that your manuscript is perfect. Then there's mechanical editing. This applies the specific style guides such as APA, Chicago Manual, AP, Turabian, MLA. A lot of publishing companies have their own specific style guides, and I've adapted to that as well. And um, that's very adaptable. You just have to know and let your editor know what style you want. Or you don't have to use any style at all, and that's okay too. Then there's ghostwriting, which is can be as simple as, I don't know how to transition from this chapter to this chapter. Can you help me bridge the gap? I can do that. Also, the other extreme on that end is saying, I've got some ideas. These are kind of the basic principles I want you to follow, but can you write this for me? And yeah, we can do that. In ghostwriting, the words that I would write or your editor would write become your words, and they're not my words. I don't get a byline on the title. It is just all the credit goes to you as the author. Then a big one is about confidentiality and fears that authors have. I have rarely spoken to anyone, any authors who have submitted their work to me is for the first time, who are not nervous about it. And I would like to read I have a little quote from an author who has become a friend. And that often happens. The authors that I work with, we work so well together, we usually end up becoming friends, which is just an added benefit. And it's just so much fun. But Dr. Gloria McDaniel Hall wrote a wonderful book on reaching teachers in urban cities and how to retain them. And it's a fabulous book. And she wrote to me and she said, when I nervously handed over my manuscript, I asked Jan to be gentle, but I never anticipated that her words would do more than spare my feelings. They would give me the courage to keep writing. Her encouragement became the quiet force behind every page that followed, and my book would simply not exist without it. To me, that is just the highest praise that any author can give, because that is my job. My job is to make sure what you say is absolutely the best message we can present together, that you are trying to say, and then to make it successful. And it's a joy when that happens. Um, Another question many authors have is, will my editor keep my work confidential? Will my editor use any of the work that I have written anywhere else? In other words, will my editor steal my book or parts of my book? No, absolutely not. Because if that happened, that editor would never stay in business. Everything is confidential. I work with you to be a gentle voice, um, to help make your book the absolute best that it can be. And then the last question would be, what if we don't click? And if we start working together and you just don't like the way I work, or you have an issue with something. I've actually never had that happen, but I've heard stories about from other people about how where they started with one editor and it just didn't work. At any time, you can walk away, and that's okay too. And there's no hard feelings because everybody's different. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and you just automatically click with some people better than with other people, and so that's not a problem. So these are just some of the main issues that an editor can help you with and can bring to you. And I just wanted to bring that to you, and that's about all I've got right now.
Jen, that was a lot. Thank you so much. That was a lot of wealth of information. Everyone give her some applause there and the reactions. If anyone have any question, raise your hand. One thing I want to share while people are, thinking about their questions or put it in the chat is that Jan we became friends because she was my editor for my book Faith Over Fear, and she did a great, I know you can't share when you have your virtual background, but she was definitely gentle but also appropriately made the corrections. And I like what you said, well, when you were editing books, your encouragement to you quoted someone saying you were encouragement to keep writing to that person. I think her name was Gloria, and that's what you did for me. You made me, when I looked at the things that you recommended and I evaluated it and processed it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Sometimes as a writer, you're too close. You've read it over and over and over and you miss things
Yeah.
or you don't see things, or it sounds that way in your head because you know the backstory, right? The editor doesn't know the backstory. So the editor is reading it as a first time reader and being able to provide those thoughtful input, edits that needs to be edited. What did you mean? I remember, I mean, it's like it's in my brain, Jan, like I remember. What did you mean when you said this, Stephanie? What were you trying to convey when you wrote this? And that's great. I have a sister, which you all know, Dana. Dana has been a phenomenal writer all our years, right? So in college, when she talks about the story, it's me. I will have her review my paper. And then she's like, you need to do it yourself. She said, you can do. I was like, I can't write like you. And she wasn't an editor there then, but she edited. Jan is a professional editor. In addition to that, she hadn't shared this. You got to get on her calendar because she is well sought after. When I reached out to her, I'm like, hey, I need this in the next 2 months. She's like, Stephanie, I have all this on my docket here, and she made it happen. However, I'm just saying when you utilize or any editor, give them 3 to 4 months because you don't know what's all on their plate, right? Another thing that I like, and if anyone have any questions, I don't see any hands raised. Will my editor steal my book or part of my work? I never thought of that, and I'm sure that's a good question that people have. Um, and so never thought of that. Benefits of professional editing are clear from what Jen shared, but one uncommon value is having a professional editor is required to be included in literary fairs. When you put your book in literary fairs, they want to know you had a professional editor, not my uncle who's a teacher, or not my aunt who does well in writing. That's what literary reviews want. So without me talking anymore and just tooting Jan's horn because she's phenomenal, Marisa has a question.
Thank you,
You're
Stephanie.
welcome.
Well, thank you, Jen. Wow. There I was taking notes. I had never really understood the differences that you explained. I think it's very important. I want to ask about a service that I heard about a few years ago before AI became what it is today. I mean, today is like all over the place, right? But back in 2023, which in my book is not that long ago, I had someone mention to me that there are companies out there that all you do, like if you want to write a book and you're not a writer per se, or you've never written one, that you could record, whether on your phone, any type of app, like just like blah, 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 just like record out, just verbalize your thoughts, right? And hopefully in some order, right? That makes sense to you. And that these companies get your recordings, and not only do they like write it, but they help you organize it. um can you tell me more about that, and how does that connect to editing? And because it's the first time I heard it, never heard it again, but now that you're elaborating on the different types of support for authors, I wanted to get yours and anybody else's take on that.
There are companies that do that kind of thing, and they're kind of a soup to nuts kind of a organization where really the author has little to do, and they do basically, from my understanding, and I've contacted several of these companies just to find out what they're about. Um, I've never seen a finished product, so I don't know what the final outcome actually looks like. And I don't know if it tracks with what the author's original intent was. That I honestly don't know, and I can't answer to that. But I do know that there are companies that will do that sort of thing. I think if that's what you want to do it. You will end up paying for it. I keep my prices very modest. I look at the work that I do as an offering to people, and I try to be a blessing to people, because I understand, especially for first time writers, I understand how difficult it is to hand over your work, something you might have spent years and years and years of your life putting together, to hand off to a total stranger. I understand what that's like. I'm a musician as well as an artist. And the first time you put out a new song or show someone a new painting, there's that cringe factor where you're like, ooh, are they going to like it? And then, like I say, writing is such a personal thing. It's almost like having a child. And some people, like I say, they spend years on research, developing their ideas, and then to just send it off into the void is a very scary thing. Um, and I take all that into consideration because I know how vulnerable it makes people feel. And I am here to walk alongside you through that process. I don't know if those companies that offer those kind of services do that. I honestly don't know. I do know that their emphasis is on numbers and it's on pushing to the final print and get it done. That's the focus. And if it works for you, go ahead. Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just whatever you feel is good for you. I love the personal interaction with people. I love working with people. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something unique that they have to say, and it's my job to bring that out, and I love doing it.
Thank
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Jan. I know Dr. Pauline has her hand up. I want to say this real quick. Jan and I have shared the stage before at Transformational Writers Academy. That's a 90-day to manuscript that Dana offers, and it has been phenomenal. I wrote my first book before I took the transformational 90 days, and when I took that, it was a game changer. And you'll hear her say that often, but it truly was a game changer because I had all this knowledge that was given or shared, and people gave me bits and pieces. My first book wasn't done by an editor, and every time I look at that first book, I cringe. I'm like, oh my gosh. And other people read, oh, did you mean to say that? Or this is, I was like, ah. So use Jen. Definitely Transformational Writers Academy. It helps you from the beginning, from writing from beginning to the end. Their next 90-day to training script is August 7th. And so I want to hand the baton back over. I'm gonna have Dr. Pauline speak, and after Dr. Pauline speaks, I'm
I
gonna
just
hand the baton back to Dana.
Okay, I just want to ask a challenging thing, Jan. You might know, how did Jack Canfield do it? How does the bestseller get to that place? Is it about knocking on doors? Is it having the right connections? There's thousands of books out there. Everybody goes for the number one bestseller on Amazon, but why do those books get to be so successful when you think your own book is, and you think, well, I want to get this message to the world? How do you do it?
If I had the answer to that, I could. I wish I had the answer to that. All I
I,
know is that there are steps to make along the way, to fine tune what you do to make it the best you possibly can. Um,
Mhm.
and the main goal is to start with, who are you targeting? Who is your book being written to? Because
Yes.
I had one author who had an unbelievably heartbreaking story. He lost both his children in an accident, and it was just a heartbreaking story. And it was an amazing story. It was a story of redemption, how he and his wife put their lives back together again after losing their children. And, it was just really a phenomenal story. And I said, who is your book to? Who is your target? And he kept saying,
Yes.
everybody. And I said, well, yeah, that's great, but who specifically? You've got to bring it in. You would love to have the book go to everybody. I understand that, but you've got to fine tune it. You have to draw a bullseye, and then you've got to focus right on the center of that target, that bullseye. And
It,
and
I
he
was going to
never.
ask you though, I mean, like J.K. Rowling, is it luck?
No, I'm going to chime in because we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I really want to give each of you the opportunity to connect offline and make, communication and contacts where you can even set up um, I can't think of the word, but when you do like schedule a meeting with Jan and a 10-minute consultation, I'm sure she'll be more than willing to go through that and explore what's next and how she could support you or with any of our incredible guests today. So let me first start off by thanking you, Dr. Pauline Crawford, thanking you, Donna Eastman, thanking you, Jan Levin, for coming and bringing your knowledge, your experience, and your imagination today. For those who are on and those who will be listening to this in the recording, you have made an impact, an indelible impression today on our minds and our hearts, and hopefully our books, our artwork. And there's a picture of Maximilian. I had to share one with you. I hope you can see he's on the screen in his Christmas best. And he will be featured in a book series. And I'm going to reach out to Donna so she's got a good visual of him with his one blue eye and his one black eye, and he's the second smartest breed. But let me not go on about that. I want to thank you, each of you online. If you would just give a round of applause or put something in the comment to express your appreciation for this incredible panel. And I'll thank each of you on LinkedIn and tag you as well. This way you'll be able to follow one another if you did not save the chat. And there's one quick way to save the chat in the bottom right-hand corner on your screen. If you're on your laptop, there's those three little dots. Click that and save. And I want to also thank Stephanie Austin for being my pinch hitter, my sister, my friend. And one thing you may not know about us is that we are Irish twins. We are Irish twins with Bermuda and American heritage. You guys were phenomenal. I want to do this again. So, hey, how about we do it next month, third Wednesday, 11 a.m. And if you're interested in being one of our guests, because it's going to be a guest author or illustrator or publisher next month, then let us know. Reach out. But this is where you can be a part of this tribe. Join globalchamber.org. I put the information in the chat. If you're not a member, you really need to be one to continue gaining wonderful resources like this. And you guys are great. I see you want to say something, Pauline. You're right on the edge.
Just if you want to do the foundation program, let me know this April. It'll be free.
Absolutely. So everyone's LinkedIn or their website is in the chat that wants you to connect with them. Find them. And if you were invited by someone, thank them. And we'll see you next month. But thank you all for an incredible, impactful Global Chamber Author Series.
Beautiful. Thank
Thank you for your
you. Bye
leadership, Dana. Thank
bye.
you.
Yes,
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much,
All right.
ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye.
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thank you, Myla.